That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Together, the sophomore film directed by Nikole Beckwith that premiered at the 2021 Sundance Film Festival in the U.S. Dramatic Narrative Competition. Bleecker Street is releasing it April 23rd, 2021.
You said it's a directorial debut?
Sophomore.
Oh. Do you know their first movie?
Her first film was Stockholm, Pennsylvania, which was also at Sundance 2015. I have not seen that. She's also written several features, including Three Generations with Susan Sarandon and Elle Fanning, and the Beaches remake with Nia Long and Idina Menzel, which I haven't seen and I don't know why.
When you said Nia Long and then Idina, I thought you were going to say Adina Howard.
No.
Like Freak Like Me, but anyway.
No.
Okay, Together is about a man, a single middle-aged man named Matt, who's played by Ed Helms. He's a software designer living in San Francisco, and he has decided to have a baby via surrogacy. So we see him interviewing only one prospective surrogate. Her name is Anna, and she's played by
Patti Harrison.
So,
who she had a small role in A Simple Favor.
You have a little lotion. Okay. Oh, well, made it worse. Oh, well, there we go. Patti Harrison.
And she's also a writer on Big Mouth.
That actor?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So he hires her, Matt hires Anna, and the film is her becoming pregnant, going through the term, and having the baby. The final shot of the film is her pushing out the baby and Matt grabbing it and saying, "Oh, I love you, my baby." That's it. All right. How many times do you think I said this movie was basic as we were watching it?
Many, many times. I've actually seen it twice, and probably my response will seem more vehement because I have had to sit through twice.
Should I go through my notes?
Let's start with your notes.
When Anna explains, because as she's being interviewed by Matt, she says she has a baby, but she no longer has it. And he's like, "Oh my God, like what's going on?" "Well, I gave it up for adoption." "Well, how old were you?" "How old's the baby?" She's not quite sure, but she says the baby is 7 or 8, and she had it when she was in high school. So that means this lady is like 25.
I think she says she's 26.
She says she's 26 at the end, so after like 9 months. So she's 25 at that point. And my mouth was aghast, or agape, right? Is that the word?
Agape, yeah.
Agape. I thought she looked older, and I know I'm known for thinking everyone looks elderly. This actor is beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
She's gorgeous, but that lady's not 25. So that threw me off immediately. Also, her makeup.
Yes, lots of makeup. Even in the birthing exercise.
Oh my God! Whomever did her makeup, she's wearing all of it, and they paint like her face and down her neck, but only in the front. But then there are like many profile shots of her where it's very obvious that she doesn't have full coverage on her neck. I was distracted by that. On top of the fact that I keep thinking like she's supposed to be 25, and they make a point of her age because Ed Helms' character is like in his mid to late 40s. Again, their age difference, even with her looking older, is still quite significant. But I thought that was funny. The lady who I thought was Molly Shannon, who's that?
Nora Dunn.
Nora Dunn. I thought she was funny.
She has one funny scene, yes.
Yeah.
And Fred Melamed plays his dad, who we just saw in Shiva Baby.
That's right. That's right. I always say I can't get away from Tig Notaro, and this bitch is in this movie now playing like the therapist, the couples therapist.
Like the counselor guiding them through the process. She, of the few like nice things I have to say about this film, she's one of them.
Really?
I thought she was kind of entertaining.
No.
No?
Well, I mean, if that's how you feel, that's fine. But
well, because they keep saying very inappropriate things, like things that they're like, is it okay to say that? And they always pan to her, and she's like, "I'm here for whatever you want to share."
Okay, I have many issues with this film. Primarily the story, but also the comedic tone.
Yes.
Which you'll get into, I'm sure. But everyone is so flat and like blah about everything, and then you got Tig Notaro just sitting there like making that face. Like it was a lot because between her and then Julio Torres.
Yes.
It's just
also the introductory scene of him is quite entertaining, but then it kind of hits a flat line.
That gets old, yeah. So Julio Torres plays Anna's coworker because she works at a coffee shop, and somehow with this coffee shop salary, she lives alone in a nice apartment in San Francisco.
Yep, that's a sticking point.
Okay, this is gonna get murky. Okay? They go to get an ultrasound. Anna and Matt, and the technician performing the ultrasound.
Jean is her name, played by Suffe Bradshaw of Veep.
Okay, when I announce my nominees for Worst Hair of 2021, she's gonna be in it. She's gonna be in it. And it's a shame because
Well, she's also beautiful.
the actor is a striking person. So my initial thought was like, burn the hairstylist at the stake. But then I hop on her IMDb and she is rocking this hair in numerous photos. So it's just a shame.
Sure.
It's just a shame. Because that wig, or I'm sure it's a wig, was raggedy as hell. So, I'm making this proclamation now that I think she might win for 2021. And what's her name?
Suffe Bradshaw.
Suffe, I'm a hairstylist. If you ever need assistance in choosing a new style for yourself, you go ahead and slide into these DMs.
Oh my God.
Moving on. Okay. Ed Helms. What do I know him from? The Hangover movies, Cedar Rapids.
Did you see Tag?
Is that with Robert De Niro or?
No.
Isn't he in a movie with Robert De Niro?
I'm sure.
Anyway, he plays the same character in everything, like a pathetic
man-child.
Yeah.
That is always has some a super. He's a professional person and everything, but seems completely hapless.
Incompetent. Yeah. And that's okay. Zach Galifianakis does that in every movie. Ryan Reynolds. Many actors have that thing, but Ed Helms. Maybe I'm just tired of his thing. I'm just tired of seeing him playing these bumbling idiots.
Well, because there's no characterization. It's just like you're being you, I guess.
And okay, so then it's like he's a successful, I'm assuming, because he lives in a beautiful home in a very expensive city and says he's a software designer. So you're about to buy a baby, but he doesn't seem to understand what that entails as far as raising a child. He seems incapable of having communication with this adult woman who he's paid to do this. So it's how are you going to rear a child? And then he has this book that he keeps referencing, the rules of the book. And I just thought that was a crutch that got old very fast.
It's just so cliche, it's an early 1990s look who's talking type. Are we over this by now? The scene where she has to explain to him, she pretends to be a young girl and he's explaining how to use a tampon and he can't even say vagina. Oh, it's just tiring.
Then, Matt is alone. There's a scene where Anna says, why are you doing this alone? And he explains, which I thought is, that makes sense. Why are you doing this? But then the cherry on the sundae is he made his money off of an app called Loner. And then him showing her the app and explaining it was just oh my God. Could this be any more heavy-handed that he... this is his thing, that he's just alone. Which then, again, you'll get into it, but the messaging, I don't understand the messaging. Does this man deserve to have a kid? What is this movie saying? That he should be making a baby or shouldn't? And okay.
I think that the app was also an element that needed to, it required a smarter, more cynical tone, I think, to incorporate that correctly.
Sure.
Otherwise, because it just falls out there oh.
There's another scene where Matt is trying to figure out which color to paint the nursery. And I just thought that was... It's supposed to be Matt and Anna bonding. But, it serves that purpose of we get it. So they're bonding over these paint swatches. But just him talking about the colors and her reaction. And then he has 50 paint swatches on the wall. And then she's challenging him to make a choice with his heart and not this book. And then they start, ripping the swatches off until they come to a color. I thought that was corny.
Yeah, a lot of the scenes were very corny. I cringed even again at the scene in the clothing store where she runs into her sister's high school friend, who will then, of course, report back to mother that she's estranged from, apparently, that she's now single in San Francisco and pregnant. And she pretends to work at the store even though it's very clear that she does not.
And that was a very uncomfortable scene, but not in a good way.
That because again, the tone of something like that's slapstick.
Then moving to another scene in a store with a salesperson, they go to buy a crib. And for some reason they're looking at this crib and the salesperson who's I hope I can find a picture. Her hairline was outrageous. It was outrageous. But they're looking at like a lucite crib and it costs $8,000. And then they make it a point for like Matt to sort of react to the price. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, you're paying certainly more than like $50K to have this baby made, but you're like tripping off of like an expensive crib.
And that's another good scene to bring up that made me feel bad for the associate because she's just doing her job.
Right.
And then they're rude to her and they're snarky with her, and then they're like, "We'll just get this online." She's like, "Oh, it's okay. I don't get paid by commission." They're like, "Oh, well, in that case."
That's a good point because they're rude to her because she assumes they're a couple. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then they balk at that price, so she tries to sell them something cheaper, and they exchange barbs about plywood and.
Right. But again, I don't understand what the movie's trying to do. Like, is this supposed to be commentary on like what a family makes or people's perceptions of surrogacy? Like I just don't understand what the point is.
This movie is in that kind of Nancy Meyers bubble of privilege where it's unable to it's of course very believing that it's progressive and liberal minded, but is so off center about so many other things.
Okay, you're going to talk about Woody Allen, but let me finish. So then there's a baby shower scene. So Matt decides to have a baby shower and invites Anna to attend. However, for the bulk of like the first third of the film, they're establishing they need boundaries and she's just like, she's being paid to do this thing. She also mentions that she's doing it because with that money, she's going to move to Vermont and get like her master's degree. So I don't know if she's checked prices yet or the screenwriter knows how much things cost, but I don't think she's getting paid $200,000.
I don't think they know how much things cost.
Anyway, she's at this baby shower and everyone is sort of treating her like she's not there. And I think as the audience we're supposed to feel bad, but the problem I think is the film establishes that like there's supposed to be a disconnect. Like she's not supposed to get too close to the baby itself. So I thought that was a weird choice to make me feel as the audience like she's just this vehicle for this baby, but then present all these scenarios where she has to distance herself from the baby and I'm supposed to feel bad for her. Like the baby clothes scene and the crib scene and the baby shower. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What is the point?
And then also that it makes our goodwill towards other characters like Nora Dunn, who walks in and like blatantly only talks to her belly, seem like she's just completely socially incompetent and cruel and cold. And everything about that scene feels rote and cliche. As cliche as dividing all the acts by trimesters as well.
Oh, that's right. After the baby shower, Anna feels away because of how she was treated, so she says we need to establish boundaries. So then we get another scene with the ultrasound tech where they're being kind of cold to each other. Mm-hmm. And then immediately after that, they go to like a Lamaze type class, like where they practice with their birthing partner. And it's like, well, if you need to have boundaries, why is Matt Anna's birthing partner? Mm-hmm. They're in a very intimate position. Again, I just don't understand. Also, throughout this entire movie, I never once felt like, oh, they're going to get together.
Right.
So that's one more thing that I'm just like, I don't understand what's about to happen. Like, what's the point of this? Because they don't seem like they have a connection. Matt doesn't seem... I mean, I wasn't fully convinced that Matt wasn't gay. Like, he doesn't seem to like anyone. Like, he doesn't seem attracted to her, even though she's a beautiful woman. And
there's some... Because I think we're meant to think that they are... these two people that have been emotionally dormant or estranged from everyone around them, and this relationship fills that emotional ennui, this existential ennui that they have, and they don't quite know how to navigate it correctly.
Sure. Only two things really worked for me. Once Anna goes into labor, I thought that was done well. I don't know what it's like to have a baby, but I think the discomfort and the stress it put on her body... like that seemed like I did feel something, and then her, pushing, but then I wanted more commentary on, and I think you're going to get to this with the whole prostitution thing, but I think it's like Matt is paying this woman to use her body, and then we're witnessing like the stress it puts on her body, besides the emotional sort of trauma of delivering a baby and giving it away, which this film doesn't delve into at all, because the film ends when she gives birth. But then it's like she's offering all of this for whatever measly amount of money she's getting. I mean, I'm sure it's probably like, you know, a significant amount, but still, is it enough to ask like a stranger to put themselves through this? And the film doesn't tackle that at all.
I think it really drops the ball with Anna's characterization, because even with the therapist, and at the end when she's, you know, contorted in pain from childbirth, and she's like, it's great to see you happy. And it's like, well, what about you? Like, I don't get the sense that anything's being fulfilled for her, so it seems like it's just lonely people making a terrible decision.
And then it's like, yeah, so she only mentions once that with the money she's going to go to school. And then we get some background on her that she hasn't like she had moved to be with a boyfriend and then dropped out of college, and clearly her parents think she's a loser and they haven't talked to her in years, which seems so extreme, and we don't really get anything beyond her just saying, I really don't want my parents to know that I'm single and pregnant and doing this thing. The other thing that worked for me that we already mentioned was I do think Julio Torres initially was funny.
Yes.
But he does have a scene where he explains to Anna, because he keeps like egging her, like, you're in a relationship with this person, whether you recognize it or not. And then he breaks it down that like you are in fact in a relationship and it's finite. Once you deliver this baby, it's over, and you need to process that. I thought that was effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. And that's where the title comes from, that little speech.
So why don't you go on?
Before I get into the Woody bits, let me say I really did find Patti Harrison kind of striking and compelling as a screen presence. She kind of reminded me in look and attitude as if Winnie Cooper grew up to be Aubrey Plaza.
Sure.
Like, had that energy, so I liked all that. Consistently, it's kind of like...
It's the bangs, though.
Sure.
The bangs.
Sure.
If she didn't have the bangs, you know.
But I did like her presence, and I just wish that there had been... she had the chance to have a bit more characterization. I also thought of Promising Young Woman a few times, in the fact that a trauma interrupts the trajectory of this young woman's life and ends up working in a coffee shop with a queer sidekick.
Oh, sure.
Like Promising Young Woman. Although that's set in Ohio, and how how the privilege and elitism, like everything's shoved under the rug in ways that I just thought were kind of egregious. The egregious caucasity of the film.
Oh my God.
And so yeah, thought of Promising Young Woman a few times. But okay, so the font, the opening credits, if you're a Woody Allen fan or have seen a lot of his films, they're the same as the opening to a Woody Allen film. And lo and behold, the one scene where they kind of approach the subject of moving beyond platonic relationship. It's more of like a hypothetical, because Matt says something like, would that be so terrible? And she brings up Woody Allen and references Annie Hall in Manhattan. And his reaction to both those things are like, ew, gross. So that's the evidence that she gives for saying that they couldn't work out as a couple, or how inappropriate that would be. Rather than examining how the age discrepancy is a tiresome cliche, and there are problems with that too. But really, the economic exchange of their relationship is really what makes this a bit more creepy, and approaching that a bit more creepy. But also saying like this creepy old movie director that is predatory towards young women and has made these movies about it means we would never work out. That's like if somebody told us like you shouldn't be in a relationship because look at the Birdcage, look at how those two long-term queer couple treated each other. Like it's just so stupid. And for lack of a better word. And then also, if you're going to call out these classic films, because in retrospect, what we've come to learn about Woody Allen and in the court of public opinion, has deemed him, a problem. This film's subject matter is also a problem, but doesn't have the fortitude to really make any kind of clear statement about that. because in one sense, like being a surrogate, which is a fascinating gray zone of boundaries and potential ways those boundaries can be violated, is a woman in one sense having complete agency over her body to monetize it, actually, whereas something like prostitution, which also a person can make money off of their body, there's a social stigma to that, and in most states is illegal. So how that seems, there are things that demand to be teased out in this scenario that I think this film is completely irresponsible with not even bothering to address. And so calling out Woody Allen, and what's that meme you referenced?
With Kanye West, where it's like when you give your friend advice, but then you end with, "But what do I know?" That's how this film feels. Like at a party where that one person will bring up like a hot button issue and then sort of stand back and watch everyone fucking burn the house down.
Yeah, there needed to be how it ends just leaves us on this precipice of like, what happens to them after this, and also begs like, what was the point of this movie and these people whose issues are really banal, based on how they're presented, when really they're probably, with the Anna character, there's probably a lot more that I feel could have been done with that. Not that I wanted them to be together, not that I think that should have been appropriate at all, but it needed to be addressed in a way that at least matches who they're trying to call out. And also, I guess as I was trying to say, these are film classics, and I just feel like if you have the audacity to want to call that out, then I feel like the quality and originality of your own film should also be on par. Which,
Preach, Reverend.
Which I don't think that at all. Another thing that you had brought up that is very Allen-esque is all the extras in this film are very curious looking, and I'm not trying to make any statements about sex appeal or anything, but like lots of the other women in scenes featuring Harrison, it's kind of like that music video for Mickey with Tony Basil, where she's, all the women around her.
I had said that a lot of the like extras and supporting cast were funny looking or unattractive.
Which, if you bring that up, Allen's 1980 film Stardust Memories with Charlotte Rampling, he does that. If you watch that film, which I think is an excellent film as well, all of the extras are like pronouncedly strange looking to where your eyes are kind of going towards them, which he did as an homage to Fellini, whose films also often did that. So I think those are distinct choices. The score, I loathed the score from Alex Summers, which is this like tinkly thing.
It reminded me of the movie The Room whenever they did the shots of the Golden Gate Bridge, like that music. It's
just, it has that tinkling quality that's supposed to be like activating your whimsy, but also your sad nostalgia for a life that could be. I just...
This video is going to be longer than I care for it to be.
Talking about, again, the gray zone of surrogacy is such a fascinating subject that somehow this makes something like Baby Mama feel uber feminist and subversive, with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Sigourney Weaver. But again, that kind of economic privilege of a person paying somebody to rent out their uterus for the purposes of procreation, delegated procreation, if you will. I think a much better film last year, that was one of the best films I saw that year, was The Surrogate, directed by Jeremy Hirsch, with a phenomenal Jasmine Batchelor performance. And again, different set of circumstances, but really highlights, the sacrifice and effects on a woman's body. That's
not a comedy.
No, definitely not a comedy. Or what did we just... The Diane Downs series with Farrah Fawcett.
Oh.
She was a surrogate at one point. Like, just, there are so many...
It's on YouTube. It's like 3
Small
hours.
Sacrifices.
Small Sacrifices with Farrah Fawcett on YouTube.
From like
3 hours.
From like
and then
19
after you watch that, you need to look up the Oprah Winfrey interview with Diane Downs. Mm-hmm. So it's like a 4-hour commitment. It is well worth it.
Yes, it is. But she's an interesting... I just kept thinking of her because... she killed her children. But also, I believe she was a surrogate because the police are questioning her.
We need to wrap it up.
Okay, Lamp.
Oh, that's right. They don't want to give the baby, and they don't think that Anna should know the baby's name, so they have a scene where they're trying to choose the name and they settle on the lamp.
Yeah. Two other points I want to make.
Okay.
Anna doesn't know Friends, the television series.
No, she doesn't.
But knows all about that Woody Allen situation that Matt ostensibly has no idea.
Although, to be fair, I've never watched an episode of Friends, but I do know Woody Allen a little bit. Like, I probably could have said what she said about it.
Okay.
So now that I think about it. But I do agree. Her personality at times doesn't match, like... Because she does come across as a very intelligent, articulate, beautiful woman. But then she's, like, in this miserable situation, it would seem. Mm-hmm. Like, with her family, her career, her education. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't track that a person like her would not be doing better for herself.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But also, I really don't like the television series Friends at all. But just the fact that this milquetoast, hapless man, like this is what they're bonding over. This terrible TV series that, if we need to also recall that it ripped off Living Single. And also just the city of San Francisco, if you've had the pleasure of being, has a major homeless...
It's grimy as hell.
It has a major homeless problem, and we only see these very...
bright, shiny,
I don't know, just, again, I think Nancy Meyers also keeps coming into mind, like, it's complicated, just none of these other people exist, only our issues, and they very selfishly are stomping around in this little world, and their problems that really could be fixed quite easily, based on how they are presented.
All right. What would you give this film?
1.5 out of 5.
I would give it 1.5 out of 5 as well. Thank you.
Bye.